Hello and welcome to my video on some tactics and strategies for success when playing as the Danes, Jutes, and Geats, or the Viking factions. In this video, I will be showing you some of the strengths and weaknesses of the Viking factions, as well as some battle tactics to use that will bring you success in both campaign mode as well as online multiplayer. Now, a couple of the strengths of the Viking factions are that they have very strong melee infantry, very strong melee cavalry, and a wide variety of unit abilities that can be used during battle. The weaknesses of these factions include low choices in pike infantry, no shock cavalry whatsoever, and very weak ranged units. When playing as any of these three factions, your main focus should be to get into melee combat as soon as possible. Use your unit's key abilities on cooldown, and use your cavalry to keep enemy units in place for your infantry to make morale-breaking charges. Unlike other factions, such as the Huns and Sassanids who spread out the battlefield and pick apart enemy units one at a time, when playing as the Vikings, you actually want to try and keep the enemy army within a small, controlled section of the battlefield and in constant melee combat. In this video, I will be showing you the box and squeeze tactic, where we will surround our enemy completely in a box formation and continue to press the box inward, completely surrounding the enemy army. First, I brought 3 units of Danish elite javelin men. I'll use these units to try to soak up some range damage from the enemy, and also try to draw out their enemy cavalry units at the beginning of the battle. Next, you'll want to pick 4 units of very heavy melee cavalry. Here, I chose Danish noble cavalry. I'll use these units to corral any skirmishers that are running away from the battle, and also to keep any melee units contained within the center of the battlefield, and inside the box formation.
Shall we start getting the men ready, sir?
You will also want to bring 3 units of heavy spearmen. Here, I chose Danish noble spearmen. These units are the center of your battle line, and are very important at the start to set up the box formation correctly. You'll also want to choose 6 units of very heavy melee infantry. You want these units for their attack bonus against other infantry units. Here, I chose 3 units of Danish Royal Guards, a very expensive elite unit that can hold their own against any infantry in the game. I also took 3 units of Danish Elite Warriors, a slightly less expensive unit than the Royal Guards, but can also definitely hold their own against any other melee unit in the game. And finally, since you are lacking in shock cavalry, you want to bring 3 units of specialty melee. Here, I brought 3 units of Danish Long Axe Warriors. I brought them for their high charge bonus and also their excellent attack against infantry.
Missiles ready! Spearmen ready for battle! Formation! Move!
Now, at the staging of the battle, you will want to go ahead and activate the auto-triggering on all of your unit's combat abilities, as this will tell your units to use these abilities automatically as soon as their cooldown finishes. This is an essential part of any tactics used in the Viking factions, as their unit abilities are very powerful, especially in melee combat. Also be sure to set your spearmen in the spear wall formation, and be sure only to activate the combat abilities and leave the movement abilities, such as rapid advance, on manual so that they are available when charging. Now, the first thing that you will want to do is take 3 units of your heavy melee and group them together with your 2 units of your very heavy cavalry. You want to place them in the simplex aces formation, and 1 group of these on each flank.
Hold formation!
Simply take the other 3 units of melee infantry, group them with the other 2 units of heavy melee cavalry, and do the same on the other flank. You'll want to take your specialty infantry. These will be your direct support for your spear line. Keep them as close to your spear line as you can. Be sure that your skirmishing units are set to skirmish. This will keep them out of melee combat and out of harm's way. Also be sure to group together your spear unit. It is important to keep them in a single line group and keep them as close to each other as possible. One other important thing of note, you want to keep your general unit as close to your spear line as you can. This is your most important line, and also your weakest morale, so keep your general unit near them to boost morale if needed. When approaching the enemy army, you want to keep this U formation or horseshoe formation here. The point is to keep the enemy infantry corralled in this middle area here. As the battle begins, you'll notice that your enemy will most likely try to outflank you by sending their cavalry around the edges. You'll want to prevent this by sending in your heavy cavalry and engaging in melee combat with their cavalry as well. Doing this will also keep all of his units inside the horseshoe area that you have created, which is very important for this tactic to work.
Riders, forward! Forwards!
As the main enemy line begins to press forward towards your main spearman line, you want to slowly close the horseshoe around them, sending your outside melee units forward and forming more of a square formation as you move in. As you can see here, we are starting to trap them in and outflank them. Once again, continue pressing forward as the enemy attacks the center of your line.
Take out our general! Defend him! Spearmen! Forward!
As you can see here, we have completely split the enemy army into two, allowing one half of the army to be boxed in and closed off from the other half. At this point, this half of the enemy army is completely outflanked on all sides, and morale will shortly break.
We have gained the upper hand! Have our spears! Warriors, move out!
Continue to surround and box in any remaining units that the enemy may have on the battlefield. Use your cavalry to chase away any routing units or skirmishers. Close in your boxes and suffocate them until they rout. Remember, when playing as any of the Viking factions in Attila Total War, melee combat is your best friend. Stay in melee combat as often as possible, control the battlefield, and keep the enemy in a central location, and you will win more times than you will lose. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this video explaining the Viking factions and some tactics that they use. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below for more. Thank you.